Hey, welcome everybody. This is Jean Voice Dart. We're going to be talking about courageous, creative conquerors. And Lori Thompson is here with me, and she's going to be sharing her personal journey as a courageous conqueror.
Well, I don't think of myself as all too courageous. I am creative, and I think of myself not. I hadn't thought of myself as a conqueror so much before we've had conversations, but for me, I've just always been creative my entire life. So, in as far as pushing through really hard times and tough times, that creativity came out more in writing than it did in anything else. And there were times where primarily have been a poet, although I do have I have authored a book. But during really hard times, what would come out mostly would be poetry or short, maybe essays is what I would call them.
So, were you drawn to writing at an early age?
Yes, yes. Through, I think, because of reading at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but as far as creativity, the earliest memories I have were sitting behind the couch stitching together clothes for my dolls.
Oh,
And my mother taught me to sew when I was 8, so I think I shared it with
okay.
you before. I
So
made a dress.
your mother, was it on a sewing machine or sewing by
Yes,
hand?
yes, on a
Oh
sewing
my
machine.
goodness.
Yes,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
I
So
have fond memories of that.
yes,
Yeah.
you do as well.
Hmm. She made your clothing?
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, me too. You know, you don't see that so much anymore, but
Hmm.
yeah, my mother made our clothing, and I do have memories of her, standing up on a stool, and she's got pins in her mouth, and she's trying to fix the hem, and she's poking us, and we're going, she's stand still. Or I remember going to the fabric shop, and we got to pick out our own material, the one we like. It's usually completely bizarre, these patterns and things that kids like that doesn't really look that great, but we were so excited.
I don't think I was allowed to pick out my own, but I do
Yeah,
remember she made me a plaid dress that was a swing dress,
mm-hmm.
a twirly dress, I called it. I love that.
So were there other people in your family that were creative?
Yes, my mother's sister, she was a seamstress. My dad's mother was a seamstress as well. And then my mother did draw and paint, and my dad's oldest sister was an artist and painted, and her son, who's a pastor, actually paints as well. So there's
Oh, so,
a lot of creativity in the family.
yes. So did you find that there were times when you had troubles or struggles, maybe emotionally or physical limitations or struggles, that you found comfort in the creative arts?
Not so much physical. As you get older, you definitely have more of those. But no, throughout the years, it was all emotional
Mm-hmm.
struggles and emotional pain, and it was definitely catharsis for healing for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was that all about?
Just childhood trauma, childhood stuff that not. I don't think anybody escapes this life without some kind of trauma, hurts. My family broke up, and then there was step parenting things that came into play, and various things. But I definitely did writing, journaling, and then when I discovered that I loved to draw in 3rd grade.
You
And
did. Yeah.
yes, and I mean, I don't know what it was. It was like all of a sudden the light bulb went on and it was magical, and I just loved it. So, moving forward through school, anything that was an art project at school was my favorite thing to do.
Mhm.
All through, I remember when you first got to change classes, and it wasn't just, the lower grades, but you got to change classes. And for us, I think it was 4th or 5th grade. And I remember distinctly, especially for some reason, 6th grade art, and then art throughout the whole rest of my, it wouldn't have been middle school for us. It would have been junior high school and high school. But yeah, throughout those years, and especially in high school, I just absolutely loved anything to do with art. And I took drama, which I thought was really fun. But, being the introvert, I was let me be the person in the background, I'll be that person.
Did you get involved in the drama class with like creating the scenes, the background with the art? Or
no, because you know how it is in school. There's always that one that is happy to be out front, that the teachers notice more or whatever, and they get chosen and you don't speak up. Me anyway. So no, I never was any part of that. I thought it would be really cool, but I never did any of that. And it was all part of, it wasn't like drama club. It was part of our grade. It was part of a class.
Mm-hmm. So you shared with me earlier before we started recording that, and on other occasions, there was a time when you just kind of stopped all the creativity and stopped what you loved with art. And I can relate to that. And can you talk a little bit about that and why you think that happened? I know you told me earlier that creative people create because that's who they are. They have to do that.
Right.
And so when creativity stops, it can be very traumatic. There's something going on that we deny our existence. We stop doing who we are, being creative in that way. So what happened?
What I put aside was the thing I loved the most. But because you are a creative person, you can't help yourself. So that's when it came out in other ways, whether I was a seamstress for 3 years. And so it came out in that way, just various different ways. But really, ultimately, I wrote my book, and when it was finished, like truly finished, writers and artists are never finished. But when it was done, published, and I had completed another side to that, which was a video workbook sort of thing, because I'd agreed to do that. Once I finished all that, it was weird. It was like all of a sudden I felt free to say, I'm going to pick up some paint and start painting. That's just what happened. I said, I've done this thing that I feel like I was called to do. I felt for a lot of years, God was telling me, you have a story and a testimony and you need to tell it. You have a story and a testimony. And the whole time I'm going, I know. I'm afraid. I don't know how to put it all. Like my thoughts are jumbled. But when it was finished, and also I prayed when I finished, and I don't even know why. I just said, it's like you wake up from a fog and you look around and go, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't go anywhere. And I prayed that God would allow me to have art in my life. Can I have art in my life as something that I can be paid for, like a job, like a profession? I just very simply asked for it. And probably less than a week later, I started getting requests to help other authors with certain things in their books that required graphic art.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, really? Seriously, I'm like, well, how about that? You have not because you asked not. Maybe now that you finally went, oh, let's see. You know what I mean? It was almost like I sort of woke up to it. I just published a book, for goodness sakes. So maybe this can happen for me. And so I just started walking down. As doors were opening, I kept walking through them. Another door opened, I kept walking through it. And then I was, and I do very much enjoy helping authors and helping them with their graphics and and the things that they need to put themselves out there. But I thought, I like doing this, but I really want to see if I can develop the painting, and I'm trying my best not to, because I tend to want to have it more tight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I am actually trying very hard to loosen it up, because what I keep being drawn to is, I don't even know if it's a real term, abstract realism, where it's obviously something, for instance, a landscape, but it's very abstract.
So I think
yes.
our listeners and viewers kind of want to know, what is this book? It's to tell us the title of your book and what it is.
Hang on.
And you said you were guided, you felt it was your calling to give this testimony in the book.
So the book is called Pivot Point, What If He Found the Secret to Everything? Okay. And then it's two-sided. So if you flip it over, it says Finding the Secret to Everything.
Oh, there you go. Creative right there.
Right. Boy, that was a lot of trouble. Let me tell you.
Right before we started recording, you told me that you don't want to be like everybody else. And there you go with your book. It's very different.
Yes, I know.
That's wonderful. As soon as you find out that you're doing what everybody else is doing, you don't want to do it anymore. You want to move on to a different project. Well, that's very true. Creative. That's wonderful.
That's true. And the thing is, though, that is definitely not the easy route. It is actually causes you a whole lot more work, trouble, and just depends on how much you are dedicated to the thing that you're doing differently. Now, sometimes doing something differently for the sake of it is not really a wise idea. It's not always the best plan and idea. However, when you feel like this is it, this is really the thing, I had to really kind of fight for that. And because, nobody was wanting to do it that way. So as a result, basically I had to kind of design the interior myself. The start of it was done, but I had to then redo it all, because when you do something that's really outside the norm and you're doing it for something that's being produced over and over and over again, because there's a model, it makes it difficult.
So you felt the calling for the book, you completed the book, and now you're on this new journey to go back to what was in your heart, what you've always loved, which is painting, which is visual arts, graphic art.
Right, visual arts, yeah.
Visual arts. So let's take a look at what you've been doing and kind of your journey. You got into working with furniture, gardening, some other things, sewing, doing something. Now you're back into the painting. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
so let's take a look. And I'm so glad that you listened to your heart and you returned to what you love. But you're still working with other writers and doing graphic art for them, and you said you very much enjoy that. So let's take a look here.
All right. Let me share screen and move me over. This particular picture, I hope I can just let's see, move. Yes, I can. Okay.
Oh, good.
This particular picture is the third picture that's been painted on this canvas that I have had since high school art class.
There's two other pictures underneath that?
Yes. And
I
will not change this picture, nor will I get rid of it, because it's very symbolic for me.
I love that idea, because that's kind of like how we are as people. We have all these different layers under there.
Yes, and it's also the process of me, coming full circle.
I love the bark. I just love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's very three-dimensional. It's the trees look like they pop out, because they actually do. They do pop out some.
Can you explain what technique you're using to get that texture?
Sure. It's now the background is it's a paste, like mixed with a silver, and you just really give it an overall. And the reason it's so textured, like the background is so textured, is honestly because of the other paintings underneath it, not because of anything I purposed to do.
Oh, I see.
So that's that way for that reason. Now the trees was done with modeling paste and white and gray paint and black paint. So while it's still wet, you put the black in there and some of the other elements. That's really hard because I'm not a super fast painter. Well, I suppose I would be after practice, but this is honestly the first normal. I say normal because I painted one on a piece of paper just to practice first, and then I painted this one, and you'll see that other one in a minute. But I painted this one. I mean, these are the first things I've done in 40 years.
Oh.
I literally have not painted or done anything in 40 years.
And your heart was just calling to you all this time to get back into painting, and here you are. That's beautiful.
100%.
Well, let's see.
This is another one.
Oh, wow. Look at how three-dimensional that is. It just is lifted on top of the canvas.
I sold this one, actually.
Yep.
Wasn't even trying. I sold it.
You sold it?
Yeah, I sold that one. I did this one right after the other one. And we're talking about November, December of this past year. So like
those
I said,
were tough times, November, December. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a watercolor that I
Wait,
actually
go
have
back
framed.
to that other one. I want to look at it again. I like it.
And this was not one of my favorites that I've done.
What can you tell? Is this something that you look out your window and you saw it, or
no? I saw somebody give a class for something like this on a really large scale, and this is only 9 by 12.
Okay.
And
it's
so
acrylic?
I just sort of took the idea and did whatever it was.
This is acrylics?
Yes, this is
Okay.
acrylic. This is all acrylic on this.
Okay.
And the other one's all acrylic as well.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So, and that's watercolor.
Okay. And is that a place that has a particular meaning?
No, it is not. No, it
Nothing.
was.
You're just having fun.
Nothing. It just just having fun, just playing and
Are those
seeing-
cattails?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I
It's funny
recognize
that you
that.
recognize that. I didn't think anybody would.
I grew up with cattails. I know what those are. Yeah.
I did too, and I don't know what it was. I'm like, this needs cattails, and I haven't seen cattails in a long time, but yeah, I grew up with cattails.
Okay.
So, and for the longest time I left it like this. That's why I've got a picture of it like this, all taped and everything, because I kept thinking it's not finished. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, it is too finished. It is finished. This, I don't want to add anything else to it. And I framed it, and it actually looks better in the frame for some reason. But yeah, it was just something I was playing with and practicing just to get a feel for watercolor, because this is the first thing I've ever watercolored right here.
Mm. Yeah, everything looks better in a frame. It's like we're celebrating what we did. And
I guess, I don't know. I was like, I love this. I'm putting it in my bedroom. So that's what I did.
Beautiful.
So then, this is, like I said, this was just a sketch of a piece of furniture I did. And it's not even exactly like the furniture. It's not to the right proportions, but I was just sketching it out. It was for an exercise for an art, not really an art challenge, but it was part of an art class. And I named it Provision because this piece of furniture that was found on the side of the road, which I'll show in a minute, provided much needed money for me. And that piece in the middle that looks like a window that you're looking through, I called it my little birdhouse door, because what I actually did was put magazine pictures from a magazine inside there in the real piece of furniture.
Oh, okay.
This was another thing and I did not like this picture at all, but I sold it too.
You sold it. And you weren't intending on selling these things, were you?
No.
Yeah.
Wow. I was talking to somebody and they said, well, I want to see your pictures. And I said, okay, well, they're not that good because I just started back after 40 years. And so in the same week, I sold this one and the other one.
That's amazing. And
now I do like the colors and the
confirmation.
mood of this. I just don't like not crazy about it.
You're not crazy about it.
Mm-mm. No.
But it's a wonderful confirmation when someone says, "Oh, I want to buy that."
It certainly is. Well, that really gave me encouragement to say, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I like both of these pictures, and neither one of them were my favorites, which is really funny.
Well, can you tell me, for those who are creative and are watching this, what feeling do you get from this, and what stirred you to do this?
I saw now this doesn't look anything like the picture that I saw. It was the mood it created. It's similar color scheme, and it's a similar look, but it's not the same. It was the mood and the feeling. I'm trying to think of what it is. It's just something to do with the colors and the kind of the glow around the butterfly. It was serene to me. Even though you've got grays and it's, somebody might say, oh, that's kind of, with all that gray, maybe it's a little dark and depressing. But to me, it was quietness.
No, it's very sweet. And do you draw out like the butterfly with pencil, or draw?
Yeah, I drew it out. I sketched it out with pencil, and then I started coloring it in. But for some reason, and I can't figure out why yet, I'm very much drawn to also, well, they call it mark making, but in this case and some other things that I've done, which you'll see, I feel compelled to outline things in very fine ink as well. So that's where you get some of the line in here. Something about the line making, I don't know. And these are things, again, that you find out as you practice constantly. What you do is you may be doing things that seem totally random. Like these seem very random to me from each other. But then you go, that's something I like doing, which like the line, the mark making. And so I incorporate that in other things, and you're like, I really like that. So, or, I love that color. Maybe I'll do more with that color. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the process of finding your voice, which to me seems such an odd expression, but that's what everyone uses to give that to. But this is one of my favorites.
Oh, that's so pretty. Can you make it a little bigger? There you go.
It's a little blurry when I do that, but that is I did as a practice for something I'm trying to work on a larger one of. I started it yesterday, as a matter of fact. But it's not turning out to be exactly like this one, which is fine. I just wanted to sort of get a feel for it before I did one on a larger canvas. And this is actually acrylic on watercolor paper.
Oh, I thought it was watercolor, but I can't see it very clearly.
Yeah, it is hard to see. I'll show it to you when we go back.
Yeah, beautiful.
And you'll see, well, I guess I have to get it back to regular size before I can, I guess you can tell I really do like birch trees.
Yes. What is the attraction to the birch trees?
Well, first of all, I love trees. I love trees in springtime. I just love trees. I don't know what it is something about being in the woods or near the woods and trees. It feeds my soul. That was the first thing I thought to start painting. So
your advice to someone who wants to get started is?
Well, paint what you're drawn to, paint what you love, and just keep doing. People you'll get tired of painting the same thing, but that's how you get good at painting that thing. And then you learned not just about, like, I'm not just learning how to paint trees. I'm learning how different colors, different mediums work together or within themselves. If I take a palette knife, like this is watercolor and acrylic. So I used a palette knife with watercolor, actually. So you find out, hey, if I get watercolor on my palette knife and do this, what happens? You know what I mean? So you start to learn each thing as you go, the more you do it. So if it's painting a million trees, it's painting a million trees. Or if it's just slapping different colors of paint all around, you know.
And sometimes things happen by accident. You're just
Oh,
kind of
totally.
doing,
Yeah.
that happens to me all the time. I'm doing something. Oh my gosh, look at that. I'm going to do that technique again. That was an accident. Nobody taught me that, you know. It's like,
Right.
yeah.
But the worst thing is when you can't figure out how you got there.
Yeah. Just, yeah. Hoping it happens again.
Right. And you're like, oh man.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left. We have about 5 more minutes. And so
Okay.
if we could quickly move through.
Sure, absolutely. These are just some watercolors that I did. Oh, here's that same picture frame.
Oh, beautiful. It makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
It makes a huge difference, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I guess that's another picture of that. Okay, some little flowers I was dabbling around in, you know, watercolor. They would be nice for cards. Here's where you have the mark making.
Yes.
So that was fun. Here's another one. This is just like an abstract landscape that I did the same way, watercolor and just some squiggly lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was more whimsical, you know, obviously. Here's the one that I told you, that was the very, very first thing I did before I did the silvery
gorgeous
one. And that is acrylic on watercolor paper.
Oh.
So, and this is just sort of like dark winter, you know, the dark of winter or whatever. And there's the piece of furniture that I designed and built.
Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so this really what happened was I was in a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and a lady got up and talked about the need at this children's home, and they needed, you know, several different things. And I don't know what happened. I just had this vision all of a sudden of this piece of furniture, and I went and drew it out and designed it and built it, you know, decorated and everything. And then I had a friend of mine take it with me. It was right before Easter Sunday, I don't know, 2013 maybe, and took it to the children's home and donated it to them. It was awesome.
Wow. It's so creative and so fun and colorful.
Yeah, and there's, you know, these little shelves and baskets they can put. It was for them to put their artwork supplies and things in.
I'm sure they loved it.
So yeah, I think they did. I think they did.
Yeah.
They put it in the large, like, common room that the kids had. So yeah, that was really neat. This is just a garden that I had done at a little place we had around, you know, a camping place that we had. You know, this is another, you know, this is at the same time I was doing redoing this particular chest of drawers, and this is sort of the metamorphosis of it, and that's how it turned out. And my grandson has that. It's very, very heavy. I think that's that same picture. Oh, I made this into a card, and it says, "Your art is a dance with the divine embrace of the King. Watch and see as heaven and earth collide."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And so that's kind of what I thought of when I saw those branches. I had also written Upward Call as the name of it. So yeah, that was what I did for that. And these are just, you know, that's my book cover. And
where can they find your book?
They can find my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Target and Walmart has it too if you go online, and you'd have to look it up. You may some of them, which is really weird, you'll find it faster if you look it up under my name, Lori A. Thompson, or you might find it faster with Pivot Point. But as it turns out, there's several Pivot Point type books, and I guess what makes it stand apart, each one is the subtitle.
I love the cover illustration.
Oh, thank you. It took me a long time. We went back and forth between that and another color, and ended up on all that. So
yes, it's very
intriguing. That was a process. And you know, sometimes things are done out of necessity. You know, you can't get your vision across well enough to another brain to get exactly what you want, so you end up doing it yourself. So that's kind of how that happened. That wasn't my intent. I never intended, I never thought I was going to be doing that, but that's how it worked out.
Are you saying you created the cover illustration? Is that what you're saying?
No, I did not create the illustration. I put it all together in the way that it ended up.
Oh, okay.
So that illustration, it was actually a distortion of a photo. But yeah.
Well, it's been such a joy having you here today and finding out about your journey. And I appreciate your advice for others who are creative conquerors and looking for ways to listen to that call and honor that. And I love that you shared that even though you stopped what your heart was telling you to do, you continued to be creative with the furniture and the gardening and the sewing and other ways and helping others, because that creative flow just can't stop. You just had to do it in some way. And now you've returned back to what you truly love. What a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
very much. I appreciate it.
Look for you on, can people look for your artwork as well? Looking for your book and your artwork?
My artwork is not anywhere.
It's not anywhere.
I don't have it placed anywhere at the moment. I will eventually, yes. But the book, yeah. And they can certainly, you know, anybody can reach out to me. I'm not, I'm doing work, graphic work on commission. I'm not doing any painting on commission at this point. I'm also teaching myself to weave. So.
And you help people with discovering their brand, with branding.
Yeah,
and
discovering their brand,
the whole
and
graphical.
Putting out posts for their getting ready for their launch, and their press kits, you know, their media kits. So I've done.
Can you give out your website? You have a website?
I would, but you know, I'm so busy doing this, I haven't finished.
Oh, okay.
I'll be perfectly honest, I have not finished my website.
Okay. But if people want to find you, they'll find you on social media. Right?
Yes, they can. They can also email me, Lori A. Thompson at Outlook.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's real easy, but yeah, isn't that terrible?
No, it isn't. It's all about the creative process, and you are an example of that.
Definitely
keep going,
process.
You keep reinventing yourself and keep on going, and this is perfect. This is
100%. And so there is a website being built, but you know, yeah.
Yes, very exciting. Okay.
The shoemaker with no shoes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that very well. Okay, thank you, my friend. It's just been a joy having you, and I appreciate you giving me some of your time to inspire others.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too.